Arabella's always been a great favourite of mine, although I've only conducted it once before at Glyndebourne. Lovely production. And it's a fascinating piece, which you can look at in quite a few different ways. It's about a really seriously dysfunctional family, I think. You have the father who's gambled away all the family money. You have a very fussy, sort of hysterical mother. And then the two daughters, Arabella, who is the eligible one, the eldest, the beautiful one, and who the parents have great hopes for in terms of finding a match that will solve all their financial problems. And then you have poor Zdenka, the younger daughter, who they can't afford to, as it were, to put about in society as a girl because it would be too expensive, so they dress her up as a boy. I mean, really, it's really this poor girl. And she is secretly, and she's not declared it, in love with Matteo, who is one of the many suitors for Arabella's hand. And then a letter comes from this long-lost acquaintance of the father. He assumes it's from the long-lost acquaintance, but it turns out to be the son of the long-lost acquaintance, who has a huge estate in the countryside, up in the forest somewhere, and is looking... so it's been sort of arranged that this will be a perfect match. And he arrives, and he himself is a very strange mixture of kind of almost boorishness. He's a sort of country bumpkin. Well, not a country bumpkin, but he's a man who lives in the country and lives by country ways, and he's very proud of the fact, and he's uncomfortable in, the big city society. And then the whole question of the relationship between him and Arabella is fascinating to watch as the opera develops, as the story develops. Because Arabella is, many have said, a sort of modern woman, a woman who doesn't want an arranged marriage, who wants to marry for love. Unfortunately, of course, they do fall in love, which is the inevitable happy ending. But on the other hand, she's not looking for an equal partner. She's looking for a strong man, and so there's a dichotomy within her own character, I think, which is one of the things that makes the role so fascinating and such a challenge, I think, for anyone who takes on the role. Zdenka is a marvelous character, and of course one of the most beautiful moments in the opera is the duet for the two sisters in the first act, where Arabella is saying, I'm looking for the right one, and I don't know who he will be, but I'll know him when I see him, And of course then naughty Zdenka actually arranges to go to Matteo's bedroom, or rather Matteo to come to her bedroom, but thinking that he's going to Arabella's bedroom. It's all slightly ridiculous, but it's opera. What do we expect? And so everything turns out fine for everybody, and the family actually once again enjoy the side effects of this marriage, and that they will be taken care of financially. But there's this extraordinary tension that develops between the two lovers in the second act, at the end of the second act, and where we see the really angry kind of visceral kind of behavior of Mandrika, and Arabella's pride in not sort of debasing herself to explain that he's mistaken and so on, typical sort of misunderstanding. And then the final reconciliation scene, when this marvelous scene where she comes down the stairs bearing this ceremonial glass of water as a sort of symbol of purity and giving herself to her husband, which, oh God, I'm getting all teary thinking about it. It's just one of Strauss's most beautiful passages, and we know there are many in his operas, but the three moments for me that are the most beautiful are the first act duet with the two sisters, beautiful duet in the middle of the second act for Arabella and Mandrika, and then their final scene. And there are all sorts of hijinks along the way. I mean, the opera starts with this extraordinary scene between the hysterical mother and the fortune teller, which is accompanied by the most sort of, how do I describe the opening from the orchestra? It's very jittery and skittish and crazy. And then, as so often with Strauss, marvellous prelude to the third act for the orchestra. It's really one of his great masterpieces. As you probably guessed, I love his music and I love his operas, and there are so many of them that even the lesser known ones, of course, which have all been seen at Santa Fe over the years. I must say I feel a certain weight of responsibility on my shoulders to to be continuing the Strauss tradition, particularly as Strauss hasn't been appearing as often as formerly in the seasons. So, but I think I'm up to the task. I hope that by the end of the opera, the audiences have fallen in love not only with Arabella, but with Mandrika too, and he's a difficult, prickly character, but with a beautiful soul. And I think we need to see that, and the fact that they are a perfect match for each other, I think, is one of the beautiful things about the piece. And I hope there are certain moments of wit. The father is a very lovable rogue, shall we say, a reprobate. And Zdenka, I have to say, is a character that I've always had a great fondness for, who has absolutely always put herself in the background, adores her sister, and does anything to help her. If you're coming to this piece for the first time, I would hope that you would feel very engaged with all the major characters, and that you would be, in the end, swept away by the sheer beauty of the music. And Strauss has a way, in the last scene, Strauss has a way of, after all the hysteria that's gone on before, and he always sets it up with this most sort of beautiful orchestral prelude, as it were. And oh gosh, I'm shivering just thinking about it. Really, the little orchestral passage that happens before she comes down the staircase is one of those moments where it's as though he's distilling for us the essence of this beautiful girl's personality, and also preparing us for the serenity and sort of maturity with which she pledges herself to Mandrika. So I really hope that this quality in her character, and also this wonderful coming together after such turmoil of these two extraordinary people, will actually send the audience away with a real glow and perhaps a few tears in the corner of the eye, because it certainly always does to me. I am so much looking forward to coming back to Santa Fe. I had such a marvellous time there. First of all, the beauty of this wonderful corner of New Mexico, the extraordinary facilities of the opera, which are heavenly, I have to say, and the wonderful atmosphere of really dedication and enthusiasm that you get from everybody, from the administration, the singers, the director, and the orchestra, is something I'm really looking forward to. I mean, I was so happy to conduct Albert Herring 2 years ago, and it was altogether a heavenly experience for me. So I'm sure Arabella will be too.